part of this upgrade to the new engine, the original power steering box here. So you got a power steering pump that feeds the box that's right here on these cars. And a Mopar isn't known for having the tightest steering in the world, especially the old 60s and 70s models. So I now have in my possession this new Borgeson, or Borgeson, however you want to pronounce it. I'm just gonna call it a Borgeson for now. Anyway, this is the Borgeson replacement steering box. And this is part number, let's see here, 800126. This is what they call the 1 1/8 of an inch. So it's basically the smaller diameter pitman arm is what you need for these cars, unless it's had the upgrade or some earlier 70s model. And this is what it looks like when you open the box. I always like to do the unboxing vid, you know, because those kids making millions of dollars doing unboxing vids. I'm not gonna get to that. My channel's not even monetized. For those of you that wonder, it's not even monetized. Look at that. All right, so this is what you get in the box. This is the new steering box. It actually is a smaller diameter, which is kind of cool. Maybe to clear the headers a little better once I put them on. But what's interesting here is it doesn't use the same kind of steering adapter that goes from the steering rack, or the steering column, I should say, down to the box. It has this really cool coupler here that you get, and you'll see what that looks like. So I decided to put this one on. There's something called a Bergman coupler, and it looks just like the factory one. You don't have to cut the steering column, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut the steering column, do it the right way with this. That's supposed to give you a much more solid feel, which is what I'm looking for this car. I want it to really be as more modern as possible and a tight feeling to it. So I've got the new style power steering pump off the 06 Daytona that I took apart. I'm gonna have the new steering box here. So between the two and new lines and everything, I think this thing should handle probably as well as you can make a 68 Mopar handle. Anyway, I'm going to show you the part number on this. If you can see there, it's a 036425, and it says it fits this 800126 and 800127s. But that's it, and I'm going to show you how it works. Now, this video is going to jump around a little bit because I've got to actually pull the motor out just to make it easier to get in here and work on it. Some of you can do this with the motor in the car. Because I have stock manifolds, I could probably do it in here anyway, but you know, we're gonna make our job easier. We're gonna pull the motor out. You gotta pull the steering column out because again, I've gotta go in here, I've gotta actually cut the steering column to the right length for that coupler to fit. But I didn't see any videos online about this, so like I said in my other videos, whenever you search for doing Mopar stuff, you should be able to find my videos that clearly show you some of the questions that I've been finding for myself. Where's the video about it? May not be the way you would have done it, but it's gonna be the way I do it, and it's gonna work, and we're gonna put it on the car and see what happens. So first thing I'm doing now is I'm getting ready to take the old parts off, and you can see, I guess they call this a drag link that goes across between the two outer tie rod ends here. Mine, you can see this rubber, see how it's torn and pushed out here. So that needs to be replaced. So I'll definitely replace that. And this arm, I guess this whole piece, it might be made into it. So I might get this piece. I don't know if I can just replace that or the whole arm. I might just replace the whole damn thing. These clearly are brand new. I'll put those on. And then I might go ahead and replace this. I think this is the, I can't remember if they call this the idler arm or what. But I know Pitman, idler. Either way, I'll probably go ahead and get brand new ones just because. Same thing, it's got a joint here and here, and I want to make sure everything is as tight as possible, and I'll put the steering back in. So first thing I did was remove the cotter pin from here. I got to zing this off, probably use my puller and pop that joint off from here, and then take this nut off from here, use my puller and pull that off, and then the steering box will actually be disconnected from the suspension. But next what we have to do is take off this coupler. This takes the steering shaft off from the steering box. So you'll notice I have my lines disconnected. I put a hose in between, because what you'll find is if you go to turn it in either way, any fluid in there is just gonna try to squirt out. So just keep from making a mess. Just go ahead and put your hose or something, loop it around so it'll make a mess. But then we gotta disassemble this, unbolt the steering box. We can actually get it out of the way. And then I've got to go inside the car and pull the steering column out, because I have to cut, once I take this off, I have to actually cut the column to make the new Borgeson coupler assembly fit. So we'll show you how to do all that. But just want to give you down and dirty just how nasty this thing is. You know, 50, 53, 54 years old, and definitely needs a thorough cleaning. But first thing I'll do is disassemble everything, and then we'll go from there. So I'm getting ready to take the stock coupler off. And what you're looking for here, there's supposed to be a little pin in here somewhere, right in here, normally on the side where the spring clip goes in here for the shoes. There's no pin in mine. So somebody's changed this coupler at some point, but you basically have this metal ring that pops in here, and you basically pop the tangs up, pop this out of the way, and then there's this little rubber seal here, which mine was all deteriorated anyway, but you just get that out of the way, pull this up out of the way, and then you have this pin here. You take a punch and a hammer and drive that out, and then you go inside, loosen the steering column, and you pull this out of the way. This should actually pull off once I get the pin out. So once I get that out, then I can actually unbolt this and pull it down. So just wanted to show you a couple of the steps, but somebody changed my coupler. It's normally a very small pin that you've got to knock out to get the coupler off, but apparently somebody changed mine. Okay. There you go. Just drive it out there, find the big end, drive it out, and there's the pin. So the pin is out. Put that down here for other parts. All right, so we've got the pin out, got this disconnected, so this should, I think we need to take like a pickle fork or something and prise that off. So we'll try to prise that. We got to get the steering column down so it has room to move. All right, from the top side, used a pickle fork to try to move that back a little bit. Don't want to move it too much because the column will collapse. So you just break it loose a little bit. You come in here, you lower down your column. Now there's some bracketry back here. What you want to do is get in here and loosen those bolts. There's a couple right there. Pull the carpet down, loosen those bolts in there. There's two that go through here. There's one hidden right up in here. Unsnap this connection here for the wiring harness. And there's a little trim piece right here. Take that loose. Then the column basically sits down here, and then you kind of pull it a little bit, like so. And then I'm gonna go back over here and check it out. The coupler is free from the steering box, so we go ahead and take the box off. You'll notice this thing is still on here, so we'll slide that off here. See how it's starting to come off because there's no pin on it. See the shoes there working their way out. Anyway, definitely an aftermarket piece. Not uncommon for it not to have a pin in it. So just wanted to show you, pretty straightforward. Just a little tedious getting stuff loose, but now that that's out, we'll remove that steering box and get it out of the way. I'll put the new steering box in, but before I do that, I've got a lot of cleaning up here to do from old power steering fluid, antifreeze, just 50 plus years of buildup here. So I'm gonna scrub and clean all this up. Then we'll put in the new box, and then I'll show you how to attach the coupler. So hang on tight. Borgeson, going to work. What a greasy, nasty mess. Wow. Alright, so that's the old steering box. That's the new Borgeson steering box. See the difference in the size here. Significantly different in girth. Thing there is huge, right? But anyway, this is 1 1/8 inch, just so you know, for these cars. But now I'm starting a process of cleaning. Not one of my favorite things to do, so I went down and just bought a new set of brushes. I'm going to destroy these, and a couple cans of engine degreaser, some of the original. It's about the best stuff to use. I've already sprayed it. I'm letting it soak in now. They say let it soak for about 10 or 15 minutes, so I'm going to let it soak, hit it with the brushes, rinse it, and probably let it soak again. Do it like twice, and try to clean as much grease off this K member that I can, just to get it cleaned up from the K member here, the sway bar, the drag link there for the steering, and the torsion bars there. Just clean up as much as possible. You can see just where it was leaking. That side's a lot more grimy than the passenger side. So once I get all that cleaned up and rinsed off. All right, so we did a little scrubbing. Tried to get majority of the build up 50+ years of grease and oil and grime off of this thing. It ain't perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Get ready to mount the new Borgeson steering box on here. Just want to show you what it looks like prior to mounting it. Just get all your surface areas here clean so it fits flat. So, yep, get ready to put it on. You have to reuse your factory bolts, so here they are. I cleaned them up, get ready to put them back on. And here's the box, so hold on and I'll put you a closer bird's eye view. Here's the box. You saw me mount it a couple minutes ago in my editing. You put the coupler on. There's a little indentation here. You slide it in and tighten this down so it can't move. And you just take a little Allen head. This is a, what is this? This looks like a daggone number 4 size that fits this. See there? You loosen that up, and I'll go ahead and loosen it, show you what it looked like. So you loosen it and it slides off like that. See the little indentation there? And you slide that back on, get it about centered there, and you tighten this down. What happens, that goes in that little indentation space there, and it keeps it from sliding off and on. Okay? Alright, so now you know how that works. Then what you have to do, you have to basically figure out how long this shaft needs to be to fit down in here. This actually stops just past this hole right here. So about where this flange starts and this stops is where it's flat. It's a dead spot, and I'll show you in just a second, but that's far down as it goes right there, and it's flat. So what we have to do is we have to figure out how far in the shaft we need to cut it so it fits flat in the shaft against this, so when it's all bolted together, this fits nice and flush here. So I've marked it. That ends up being, because mine is a power steering car from the factory, that is right at 1 inch. So again, the instructions suck because there are none that come with it, but it looks like I need to cut 1 inch off of the steering rack here for that to fit. So I always say cut a little bit. If you need to cut more, that's fine, but if you cut too much, you're kind of screwed. But the way this works is this thing takes 3 pins. There's a pin that goes here and here, and you rotate this around. Let's see if I can do it. There's another pin right here. So there's 3 pins that actually get drilled through the shaft and hold it into place. So what we need to do, again, to make sure you get an accurate measurement, you do have to throw the steering column back in. So what you do is you go in here and you basically put the 2 nuts on right here that hold the steering column up, and then you kind of get your plate on down there, and that kind of centers it. So I just throw 2 screws in it to center it. These 2 here to make it tight. And then you come out here, grab my light so you've got some better light. Then you go on to this. We do this so you can see a little better. take this off real quick. All about showing you the detail here. Pull that off, and then do this. See how that is? Okay, so now you know what you're working with. So now we have to take the steering column back out again, and we'll put it in. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and slide this onto the shaft before we push it all the way down. Once we get the steering column in, we're going to try to fit this on to the Borgeson pump like so, and try to get that into place and make sure it's right where it needs to be there. And we're going to try to put the steering column back into place. If everything lines up the way it's supposed to, where I can get all the bolts nice and tight and snug, then we're ready to move to the next step, which is to take the supplied drill bit that they gave me. I can drill through here, and I can take those pins, I can tap those pins into place. And what that does is it just secures the shaft to the coupler. And that should be it. I mean, it should be just that simple to hook these up, and they should be ready to go. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is take and put the coupler on here, like this. And to make sure we're centered, go ahead and turn it. That's one full turn. And that's almost 3/4 and it stops. So that's 3/4. And that's 1. So that should be centered. Let's go this way. That's 1 full turn, and that's right at 3/4. So let's do the 3/4, and then 1 full turn. So right there should be right at center. So now that we have that, we'll go ahead and get that shaft pulled up a little bit more. We're gonna try to get that on here. Oh, there's our gasket. That's seen better days. We'll push that back in there for now. Now what we have to do, we got this on, need to push this down in here more. So we'll come around here and we'll finagle our steering column on down in there a little bit. Like that. And that's what we got here. Yep, went too far. So now wiggle that in here. See there? So now, gasket back out of the way. So now I can go inside and I can try to pick the column up, put the bolts in here, put the column all the way up and put the nuts on it. Make sure this goes where it needs to go. Slide this back to where it needs to be here. And then when this should be flush, and put the pins in it. So let's see how close I am on that, because that isn't all the way down yet, as far as I can tell. All right, so next thing you want to do once you get your steering column up, make sure your steering wheel is straight. See how the shaft is going all the way down? You can see there in the hole, the shaft actually goes all the way down. You can see it going all the way through. I've got this locked in where it goes down. Here's the drill bit they give you, and here's the 3 pins that they give you to drive in. So, all right, on to drilling now. All right, so I took a pair of vice grips and put them on the shaft. See how it's got tension on it? That's because it's turning the steering wheel. So I know that's centered, so it's holding it straight there. And you can see the shaft, see it moving in there? All right, so that's where we want it. Now I'm going to start drilling this hole first. Well, that sucks. Apparently their drill bit just broke. Wow. So behind the scenes here, basically my drill bit broke because I tried to drill the first hole there, and what happened, I didn't have it completely straight, and their bit was really good. It was drilling really great, really fast, and it drilled down, actually hit the inside of the coupler and snapped off. So I was like, all right, no problem. Well, I'll get out the pieces, and unfortunately I couldn't because the tip of the bit was broke off. So I decided to move over a little bit and re-drill the hole the other direction. Unfortunately, I was drilling right beside the bit, and I drilled, went through 3 different bits and basically wore them out. Got frustrated, so I pulled the whole column back out, and I said, let me pull this thing apart. And that's when I found the bit was actually at the very end of the shaft, so it was not gonna get anywhere. So I basically beat that back flush and ground it down with my file again and started over from scratch. So this time I drilled through at the top, took the coupler off so I didn't wallow out the hole there, and drilled this piece, put a extra bit through it before I marked the other one, pulled the coupler off so it was a nice and clean hole, drilled through it. So now I have 2 holes going through, and staked it with my little drill bit there. Steering column's up and in. You do have to do a little bit of adjustment back and forth to get it perfect. And what I was going to show you is this is the lock nut that goes in here. So what you want to do, you want to make sure you got the shaft slid perfect so it goes down in the smooth part here. You see mine's actually lined up right where it needs to be. Now I did have to do some adjustment. I just kind of threw the column in and shoved it down and kind of laid it up there and started tightening the bolts, and I had it pushed down a little too far, so I loosened up, pulled it back, and I have it in there now where it needs to go. So now we're just going to put this little pin, set screw, whatever you want to call it, right here, because you know that's exactly where it needs to be, inside the smooth part there. And we'll give that a few cranks to make sure that's good and tight. And it is. And now that that's out of the way, this is the lock nut that goes on there. And we'll put that on like so. It probably wouldn't hurt to put a little dab of blue Loctite on this. So I've got some over there. I'll probably put some on here and then go ahead and cinch that down just for final torque, just to make sure. But as you can tell, check it out. That is your shaft now, turning the Borgeson power steering. There's the coupler installed correctly. Spline showing there, you're on the smooth part. You can see the sticking out there. Boom, got the pins in. See the pins coming through here, going all the way through over here. Got the 3 coming out. That was the hole I screwed up the first time, but who cares about that? All right, 3 pins in. That's supposed to be center there for the steering. Pretty close anyway. And that looks like pretty close on the steering, so about right there. And we are good to go. Yep. So, all right, hope you enjoy the Borgeson power steering box, or steering box. I guess it could be manual power steering, but that's it. That's what it looks like. Enjoy. On to the next one.